Hello learners, this is Dr. Biplab Jamatia, Associate Professor, School of Health Sciences and your course coordinator for this course on lifestyle and non-communicable disease. You have already learned about the various non-communicable diseases, their risk factors and the preventive measures that can be adopted. You must have often got a blood test done and found that you have high cholesterol. What is the importance of this investigation? We shall discuss about this in the sessions today. We shall also talk about fatty liver disease, why it happened and how to prevent it. We have with us Dr. Rashmi Rajput, Assistant Professor, Department of Medicine, Hamdard Institution of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Rashmi.
Thank you, sir, for having me here.
So, Dr. Rashmi, please tell us what are the objectives of this session.
So, as you have already said, today we will be talking about cholesterol. So, by the end of the session, a student will be able to learn what is cholesterol and what is fatty liver disease. What are the various risk factors which predisposes one to have high cholesterol and fatty liver disease. It will also tell that if someone develops a high cholesterol level, what will be the general symptoms they can have. And we will also tell that if someone gets a cholesterol report, what are the desirable levels, that is, which is normal for the body. And in the end, if somebody has a high cholesterol, how can they prevent, or if someone is not having a high cholesterol, how can they prevent the buildup of high cholesterol in the body?
What is the cholesterol?
Okay, so everybody has heard about cholesterol and we see the reports day in and day out. Sometimes we get a routine checkup which comes with a cholesterol report. So cholesterol are the fat compounds in the body. So normally we see the fat layer underlying the skin. So that is the fat tissue everyone is aware of. So if we see their function, so they will provide cushioning to the body. That is, they are a sort of shock absorber. Also, they prevent us or insulate us against extreme temperatures. Apart from these functions, these are the energy stores. So there are carbohydrates, there are proteins and fats. They also serve as energy stores. They are the building block of the body, and sometimes they do have a hormonal function and regulation of vitamin function. So in total, when we talk about cholesterol, so starting from protecting your body to the basic level, unit level, they are having certain functions. So these are the cholesterol compounds. So when they are in normal range, they are very good for body. They are required for a healthy body. But sometimes what happens, their level increases inside the body and they start accumulating at places where they should not, causing various types of diseases. So when they increase in the body, they can get deposited in various organs like brain, liver and heart, and thus cause dysfunction of these organs.
Dr. Rashmi, what causes cholesterol level to rise?
So there are various causes for cholesterol to increase in the body, and the most important remains a calorie excess. So calorie represents the energy, and energy comes from food. So whenever the intake is more and the expenditure is less, there is a excess of the calorie which gets deposited in form of fat in the body. Now what can cause this calorie excess? So sometimes because of unhealthy diet. Unhealthy diet, like we are taking a lot of junk food or refined sugars or processed foods. So these are very energy dense food. So small amount of these food has a very high calorie value. And because of lack of physical activity, when we are not able to burn that much amount of calorie from the body, this calorie starts accumulating in the body and it deposits itself as fat layer. Then because of this, the person will gain weight, and obesity in itself will be predisposing to have a high cholesterol level. Then apart from calorie excess, there are certain other conditions which can cause this, like too much of alcohol consumption. It also affects the metabolism of fats in the body and it can cause development of high cholesterol levels. If a person is having a high blood sugar level, like those having diabetes, so they also do tend to have high cholesterol level in the body. Then there are certain people who are not having any calorie excess, they are not alcoholics, but they do suffer from certain hormonal disturbances. Like a very common problem is hypothyroidism, where the level of thyroid hormones in the body are less. That also causes cholesterol levels to rise. And then there is steroid hormones, which can be used because of treatment of some conditions, or maybe because of certain diseases their levels rises and they cause increase in the cholesterol level. Then there are certain families in which there is a tendency for the family members to have a high cholesterol level since birth. So there is a genetic predisposition. And now in females, it is seen that a polycystic ovarian disease is often associated with high cholesterol levels. And in certain conditions, certain prescription drugs which are being prescribed for like hypertension, where we use beta blockers or thiazide diuretics, they can also be predisposing for high cholesterol levels.
So after knowing the causes of high cholesterol level, we must know that what are the symptoms of high cholesterol in human body.
So most of the time people may not have any symptom and they just go to their general practitioner for a routine checkup, and when they're advised for a blood cholesterol level, they find that those cholesterol levels are high. However, if the levels or the buildup of cholesterol is too high, certain people may have certain symptoms. Now, they will depend upon which organ system is being involved. So, they can have chest pain, they can have tightness of chest, they can have breathlessness while walking small distance, or they can have irregular heartbeat. So, they are feeling or they are aware of their heartbeat, which was not normally seen before. Sometimes there can be episodes of dizziness or faintness, or they can have pain in the leg while walking. Other problems could be sometimes there can be visual loss, or there can be transient darkening of vision, or they can have pain in the stomach or the belly region. They can have nausea or vomiting. And in many people, they have noticed that there can be a deposit, a yellowish tissue deposit, a bumpy deposits around the eyelids, which we call as xanthomas. So these are some common features with which a person can present to with high cholesterol. But again, I would like to say that all people who have a high cholesterol level may not have symptoms. So that can only be detected by a regular testing.
So Dr. Rashmi, is there any guideline to test for this cholesterol, like after certain age, particular period of time, we need to keep testing the blood to detect chances of getting high blood cholesterol?
Yes. So as I've already said, so if anybody is having any of these symptoms, they should definitely visit their doctor and get their cholesterol levels checked. Otherwise, if a person is suffering from diabetes, or they have hypertension, or they are having a high body weight, they should also get their body cholesterol tested. Then there are certain conditions like where I have seen that if a family member is suffering from a high cholesterol level, then it might be advisable to get a cholesterol level as early as when you are a kid. Otherwise, if everything is fine, then it is advised that males should have their cholesterol level checked after around 50 to 55 years of age, and females should get it checked once they attain their menopause. But those people who are totally healthy and do not have any of the risk factors that I have mentioned, if any of the risk factors are present, then it should be checked immediately.
How is the test sample taken to identify high blood cholesterol in human body?
So normally it is a blood sample. This sample is drawn from the veins. So veins are the vessels which are carrying the blood from the body towards the heart. So it is a unoxygenated blood. So we will take a 3 to 5 ml of sample from the veins, and ideally a person is asked to be empty stomach for 8 to 10 hours. However, a non-fasting sample, that is without having to be fast, they can be taken for a blood cholesterol level.
How will the report look like if we want to identify for a high blood cholesterol?
So generally the reports that come, they will have fractions of cholesterol, so what we call as a lipid panel. So there will be a LDL cholesterol, also known as the bad cholesterol or the low density cholesterol. Then there is a HDL cholesterol, also known as the good cholesterol or the high density lipid. Then there is non-HDL fraction, that is non-high density cholesterol. Then there is triglycerides, and nowadays there is measurement of lipoprotein A. LDL, that is the bad cholesterol, HDL, that is the good cholesterol, non-HDL cholesterol and triglycerides. Now lipoprotein A is generally advised for some people if they have certain risk factors, and it is measured once in lifetime. Now, when I get a cholesterol report, how do I know whether my cholesterols are normal or they are high? So, the desirable levels or the good levels or the healthy levels for a person would be a LDL cholesterol of less than 100 milligrams per deciliter, a non-HDL cholesterol of less than 130 milligrams per deciliter, a HDL cholesterol of more than 40 milligrams per deciliter in males and 50 milligrams per deciliter in females, triglyceride levels of less than 150 milligrams per deciliter, and lipoprotein A levels of less than 50 milligrams per deciliter. So, these will be the values which are considered healthy or normal.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. So we have learned about the causes of high blood cholesterol level and how to identify it. Now we must know more about the fatty liver disease. So what exactly the fatty liver disease?
So, as we have already learnt that whenever there is excess cholesterol in body, it gets deposited. It gets deposited beneath the skin and makes us gain weight. It gets deposited in the vessels of the heart. It gets deposited in the vessels of the brain, as well as sometimes it gets deposited in the liver. So, there is a buildup of fat tissue in the liver, which is an organ inside the belly responsible for multiple functions, and a buildup of fat in the liver is called as fatty liver disease. Now, liver has got many functions, and the deposition of fat in liver will slowly diminish these functions. Now, if a person takes adequate management or adequate treatment timely, then this buildup can be stopped and even reversed. However, after this has passed a certain stage, this may not be reversed and there can be a irreversible damage to the liver. So that is fatty liver disease. Now, people who have fatty liver disease, as we have already learned that high cholesterol levels, people may be totally asymptomatic. They do not have any difficulty with their day-to-day life. Similarly, people with fatty liver disease can be totally normal. They will not have any difficulty with their day-to-day life. Maybe they got an ultrasound for some reasons other than the liver problem, and they found that it is showing maybe a grade 1 fatty liver or a grade 2 fatty liver. However, certain people may present with certain symptoms, and most common symptoms will be a pain in the upper part of belly, sometimes a fatigue, a weakness, loss of appetite, that is, there is no desire to eat, or there can be yellowish color discoloration of eyes. So the eyes will assume a color of turmeric, they will become yellow. Some people may have unexpected weight loss as well.
So if I understand you correctly, Dr. Rashmi, the fatty liver disease, is it the reversible, as you said, grade 1 or grade 2? So in the earlier phase of the fatty liver disease, can it be reversible?
Yes, definitely. So, if we talk in medical terms, so fatty liver disease go through some stages. So, there is a stage of steatosis, that is, there is just fat. Then there is a stage of fibrosis, where there is some fiber deposition. And third is the stage of cirrhosis. So, once it has progressed to the stage of fibrosis and advanced fibrosis, which is sometimes mentioned in the reports, from there the reversibility starts to decrease. But yes, if you are having a grade 1 fatty liver or maybe even grade 2 fatty liver without developing any fibrosis, it may be reversed.
Okay. So since liver is one of the very important organ in our body and it has got many functions, and in the same time, if the fatty liver disease develop, then it really cause many trouble for human bodies. So what are the different types of fatty liver disease you can tell to our learners?
Okay. So there, the fatty liver disease is broadly divided into two types. One is a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, other is alcoholic fatty liver disease. So first let's talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So here the deposition of fat in the liver cell is not because of alcohol, that's why non-alcoholic. However, in medical terms, this term has been changed. Now we call it as metabolic associated steatotic liver disease, that is MASLD. Now what are the risk factors for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or MASLD? That is again overweight or obesity, which is measured by the body mass index. So, if a body mass index of more than 23 in Indians is considered obesity. Then high blood sugar levels, again diabetes, high blood pressure levels, that is hypertension, high levels of bad cholesterol, that is the LDL cholesterol, and low levels of good cholesterol, that is the HDL cholesterol. So these are the main risk factors which are responsible for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or MASLD. Now, second group is alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, the reason for fat deposition in alcoholic fatty liver disease is excessive consumption of alcohol. Now, why we have divided as this in these two categories is the treatment differs. So, if I am having a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, I need to check my blood pressure, I need to check my blood sugars, I need to check my weight and keep them in control. However, if I have a alcoholic fatty liver disease, I will have to cut down the alcohol intake or maybe totally stop the alcohol intake.
So, what are tests done to diagnose fatty liver disease?
So, the fatty liver disease basically is diagnosed with certain blood tests, and those blood tests will generally detect those risk factors which were mentioned above. So, first and foremost will be a simple blood pressure measurement in the office of a doctor. So, a blood pressure of more than 140/90 is considered hypertension. Then a blood test. So, blood test will be for the blood sugars, that is diabetes or pre-diabetes, that is you have not yet developed diabetes, but the person is predisposed to developing diabetes. So, how is that done? So, we have a test called HbA1c, which is a marker of the blood sugar control for the last 3 months. Then there is a fasting plasma glucose levels, that is a person comes 8 to 10 hours of fasting and a blood sample is drawn and the blood sugar is checked. And then there is called as oral glucose tolerance test, that is after the fasting sample is taken, they are given something to eat or ideally 75 grams of glucose if that is available, and a blood sugar is checked after 1 and 2 hours. So those are the tests for the diabetes. Then we will get the lipid panel, which will include the fractions which we have discussed before. Then we will do liver function test because there is deposition of fat in the liver. So, is liver functioning normally? So, the liver will measure the enzymes like ALT, AST, that is alanine transaminase, then ALP, and then certain synthetic functions like total protein and albumin. Then we go for a complete blood count, that is just to see the normal homeostasis of the body, and a comprehensive metabolic panel. So when we talk about comprehensive metabolic panel, it includes the electrolytes in the body and proteins. Apart from that, these are the blood tests which we have to do. So they will help to point out that if these investigations are not appropriate, so they will help a clinician to consider for the possibility of having a fatty liver. So what a clinician can offer is an ultrasound abdomen, which is the most common investigation that is offered. And what we want to look there is deposition of fat in the liver, which comes and report as fatty liver. Or sometimes if we are having a suspicion of fatty liver and maybe the ultrasound is not able to pick it up, we can go for a fibroscan. So fibroscan is also a imaging of the belly region, of the liver region, and it will also estimate the amount of fat, and because of the development of fat, the liver becomes a little bit stiff. So it will diagnose the stiffness of the liver. And if both of these tests are not able to find out, we can go for a much sophisticated test that will be magnetic resonance elastography, that again will measure the deposition of fat in the liver and the stiffness of liver.
Yeah, thank you. But if I understand you correctly, a few tests like blood test will indicate you to have a fatty liver, but the confirmed diagnosis will be made by either the ultrasound or fibroscan or MRE.
Yes, because the blood tests, by just looking at the blood test, I cannot say the person is having fatty liver. In fact, earlier they used to go for a tissue diagnosis, that they will take a sample from the liver and try to look for the fat. But now with the advent of ultrasound, we can find out whether there is a deposition of fat in the liver. Now, why these blood tests? Again, as we have previously mentioned, that there are two groups or there are two categories, that there is a non-alcoholic fatty liver and then there is an alcoholic fatty liver. So, for an alcoholic fatty liver, I may not go for all these tests, though they are required for a holistic management of the person. But alcoholic patient, ultrasound showing a fatty liver is alcoholic fatty liver disease. But for me to label it as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, I require at least one of the report from the above mentioned 5 risk factors to be positive, to be called as a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or MSALD.
Okay, so combination of the blood test and the ultrasound, fibroscan, all these tests, what are the criteria for fatty liver disease?
So, the criteria for fatty liver disease, as we have already talked, sometimes a person may just walk in with a report of ultrasound which is showing a fatty liver. Then sometimes they are retrospectively worked up. That is, we go back and try to see what caused it, or we already have a report. So, first, as we talk, there is overweight or obesity. So, how do we define being overweight or being obese? Is BMI. BMI is body mass index, and for Asians, it is more than 23 kg per meter square. If the BMI is more than that, then it is considered a risk factor, a metabolic risk factor for MSALD. Second is the waist circumference. Waist circumference, again, more than 90 centimeter in males and more than 80 centimeter in females. Then high blood sugar levels. So high blood sugar levels, that we talked about diabetes. So diabetes is a HbA1c, that is a 3-month test for the blood sugar control. If it is more than or equal to 6.5%, a fasting plasma glucose of more than or equal to 126 milligrams per deciliter, or a 2-hour plasma glucose during oral glucose tolerance test. That is, after taking food or 75 grams of glucose, 2 hours later, we will measure the blood sugar levels, and if they are more than 200 milligrams per deciliter, I will call them diabetic. Or somebody may already be a diabetic, then and they are on treatment. So they are at risk factor of having a MSALD. Third component is a plasma triglyceride level, which is a fraction of the lipid panel. So if anybody has a plasma triglyceride level of more than 150 milligrams per deciliter, or they are on treatment for the same. And the HDL cholesterol. So if it is less than 39 milligrams per deciliter in males and less than 50 milligrams per deciliter in females, or if these fractions are normal but they are taking some treatment for dyslipidemia or high cholesterol levels, then this becomes a risk factor. And then blood pressure, if it is more than 130/85. Now earlier we talked about hypertension and we said hypertension is a blood pressure of more than 140/90. But here, when we are assuming a fatty liver disease to be there, we want the levels to be slightly lower than what we keep for normal population who do not have any fatty liver disease. So here the cutoff for blood pressure will be 130/85 millimeters of mercury, or anybody on treatment for hypertension.
So till now, we have learned that high cholesterol in blood is causing many other diseases, including the fatty liver disease. And fatty liver disease itself is also causing many other diseases. So, what changes should any individual bring in their life to prevent the high blood cholesterol level as well as the fatty liver disease?
So in the beginning of the session, we already learned, and our first risk factor was calorie excess. So the major change which we want to bring is in our lifestyle. That is, we have to change our diet. We do not want that calorie excess to happen in the body. Now, how can we do that? First is by changing our diet. We have to avoid intake of saturated fats. That is butter or full cream dairy. So full cream milk products, they should be avoided. Very fatty meat products, especially the red meats, that should be avoided. And instead we go for a low fat dairy, that is skimmed milk or a semi skimmed milk, or go for better options, that is fish. Second is processed food. What is the problem with processed food? They come with preservatives, they have large amounts of oil. So a small portion of that processed food will give a large amount of calorie to the body, which we are not able to burn. So we should avoid these foods. So these include like pizza, ready to eat meals, which nowadays are very common because people do not have time to prepare meals, but they do have a very high energy content. So we should avoid them. Fried food, because they are deep fried, so they are high in the fats. Then sugary foods, they are high in the carbohydrates and high in the calorie values. And drinks like Coca-Colas or other colas, so they have high content of sugar, and then again they are high in calories. Instead of that, we should consume more of fruits and vegetables. So daily 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables. Then we should include dal in our diet. We should include whole grains like wheat, like rice. So we should try to incorporate these foods. Apart from that, we also have to reduce the intake of salt to less than 6 grams per day. So how do we know that we are eating less than 6 grams per day? So normally it in the salads. Stop taking pickles or any extra salty things. Just take the salt which is required for cooking. Second is we have to exercise. Now how do we exercise? Everything cannot be counted as exercise. So for the exercise to be effective, it should be at least a moderate intensity exercise which should be done for 30 minutes a week for at least 5 days a week. That becomes 30 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week, which becomes 150 minutes per week. Now how will we know that it is a moderate intensity exercise? So the moderate intensity exercise will make me or will make a person breathe a bit faster, but they will not be out of breath. So they will be still breathing, but the breathing rate will be high. Then there will be sweating. So after doing some 5 to 10 minutes of exercise, they will start sweating, and this will be slight sweating. They won't be drenched with the sweat, but a slight sweating. And third, doing such form of exercises, they can talk, but if they want to sing, they won't be able to sing. So these are some things which will happen if a person is doing moderate intensity exercise. So what can those be? They can be dancing, they can be swimming, they can be light jogging or mowing the field. So this is moderate intensity exercise. Then third, we have to reduce or stop alcohol intake. Now if reducing, how much should be the daily alcohol intake or weekly alcohol intake? So reduce the alcohol intake to less than 14 units per week or less than 2 units per day. Now how do I know what is 1 unit? So ideally 1 unit of alcohol is 8 to 10 grams of alcohol. Again, it is difficult to determine how much alcohol we are taking. So normally whatever alcohol is coming, they give a value which is called ABV, that is alcohol by volume. It is normally present on the bottles. So if it is 1 ABV, that is 1 alcohol by volume, it means that there is 1 unit in 1 liter of alcohol. So that way it can be determined what is the amount of alcohol in the bottle. And in any case, if you have risk factor, if someone has a family history or they are already symptomatic, they should be going to their doctor apart from making the changes in the lifestyle.
So we have learned that to prevent high blood cholesterol and fatty liver disease, we must balance between the food intake and physical activities. And in any condition, we should not be overweight.
Yes.
And we must avoid alcohol as much as possible. And periodic consultations with doctor so that we can get a proper advice to prevent many risk factors which are causing for the different kind of non-communicable diseases. You have told us a lot about the common condition, high cholesterol and fatty liver disease. What would be your take-home message?
So what I want to tell is fats are not bad for body. We do require fats for normal functioning of body. It is only when they start accumulating in the body, they become dangerous for us. So the take-home message is always have a healthy lifestyle, avoid calorie excess, and that will be done with having a very good diet and always doing physical activity. Do not be sedentary. Move around whenever you can. Avoid alcohol or reduce the alcohol to less than 14 units as we have already discussed. And in case of any symptoms, please consult the doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Rashmi, for explaining the significance of high blood cholesterol. Thank you also your information regarding fatty liver diseases.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.